Hey guys, Evil Cosplay here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how I get fully done up into my Queen Amidala costume. And I hope this video will help you if you plan on building this costume yourself or attempting one of her other extremely elaborate gowns. So let's just get right into the costume.
Alright, here we go. So we're going to start with the base layer. The very first item I wear on this costume is a petticoat. Undergarments are super important, and this one is very important for this gown because this gown has a very A-line shape, and with the base layer being chiffon, you definitely need something to make sure you maintain that volume. This is a simple petticoat. It's a satin on the outside and then a layer of organza underneath. So not a ton of volume, but just enough to maintain the A-line look of this gown. Now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next layer, which is the chiffon layer, and start talking about that. The chiffon layer you're about to see is made up of about 16 yards of fabric. It's two different colors, so you'll have the blue on the inside and the maroon on the outside. The original costume used an iridescent chiffon that was a bluish, blue and maroon weave. I couldn't find a chiffon that was just that, so I had to use two different colors to create that same effect. Now this layer, the way it's sewn is to create the look of it, it's pin tucked all the way up of the costume. So I essentially did pin tucks in the fabric and stitched each one down all the way up to the top. And you'll see me pinning everything into place with safety pins because there's so much volume on this base layer. Like a snaps or anything like that, it just isn't going to cut it as far as holding this into place where you want it. So I use safety pins and I pin it directly into my bra I'm wearing and also into the waistband of the petticoat. And that way everything is pinned into place, it stays where you want it, it's not going to go anywhere. And there is nothing, I mean absolutely nothing wrong with using safety pins to hold certain parts of your costume into place like this, especially since it's layers that are underneath. But yeah, this layer takes a lot of time. Yeah, beware. The second layer, also very time consuming. So this layer is made up of silk taffeta covered in a white silk chiffon, and there is beading on the sleeves. And you can see the texture that I created on this layer. So the texture was done by basically stitching down and bunching the silk chiffon all over the silk taffeta in a way that I could best mimic the original film in this layer. And then there is beading on the silk taffeta between the taffeta and chiffon layers on the sleeves, and that beading mimics the design that you see on the outer layer of sleeves. There are snaps along the bottom of this because it has a very unique hemline, so using 3 snaps I'm able to make sure that the layers stay into place when I'm wearing it, maintaining the uniform hemline since it's on a curve. And then the rest of this is, again, I pin it into place using the safety pins to make sure that everything stays where it is, because again it's another layer that's loose since it's this costume is very much based on a kimono. So, you know, when you look at how a kimono is built, it's very straight. And I wanted to try and make sure I stayed true to the heritage of this costume. Now I'm going to be putting on a corset. So obviously we have lots of volume on these base 2 layers and we kind of need to contain it. So by putting and adding in the undergarment of a corset here, I am able to control that volume and keep a silhouette on the outer layer and kind of keep everything into place as well. And now this corset, I actually made it. It's made out of Star Wars fabrics, fully functioning, you know, just like a regular corset with a busk in the front and laces up in the back. And it has to close all the way, otherwise the other layers don't fit. The final layer is made out of silk taffeta, and it's just lined with some light purple polyester to match the lining of the film. The sleeves were stuffed with cellophane to create that voluminous look. And when you hear me when I'm walking around, you actually hear the sound of the cellophane. And when I watched the information video on this costume from the original film, you can hear it as well when she touches the sleeves. That way I can maintain the poof without adding too much weight onto the sleeves. They're still very lightweight. The design on the sleeves is embroidered. It's fully embroidered with gold thread. I have lots of up-close pictures of this costume on Facebook, which I'll link below. And then on top of the embroidery is Swarovski pearls, and they've been stitched on top. Now, the way I did this is I did each panel individually, sewed them together, and then I went back and connected the embroidery over the panels because there is no seam line on the original film's gown. So you have to make sure that you embroider over the connecting seam for the two panels. And again, I'm using a safety pin here to hold my neckline into place before we put the final obi on the outside. Alright, so we have the outer layer on. The next thing that's going to go on will be the obi. So here it is. The obi has 9 snaps in the back that hold it into place. And you can also see on the inside the brown is hand-stitched boning channels. I added those in after I originally made the obi. I didn't think it through totally, but I definitely needed it after my first wear. So I went back through and added boning into it. So I recommend that you do that the first time through. But pretty much the obi just wraps around and snaps in the back. And then you have the folded piece it's just stitched down over the top. The fabric for the obi is actually an upholstery fabric that I found online. I can't remember for the life of me where I found it. And didn't save the link. But that's the type of fabric I got that was closest to the original pattern from the movies. So look for upholstery fabric and hopefully you can find the same like diamond pattern. Obviously we have to make sure everything lays down nice and pretty for the back layer. Now we're going to move on to the headdress. So the bead part is actually stitched straight to the wig using some thread. The bead embroidery headdress. So the original is made from it was a belly dancer's skirt that they found and used for the original piece. Obviously I didn't have that luxury. There are up close shots of this again on my Facebook, which will be linked below. The pattern that I made was I used a couple pieces of lace and then kind of went and did my own thing, kind of trying to match as best I could the original costume. There are not a lot of great photos of this going around, so I kind of had to look at it, kind of break it down and do the best I could with what I could find as far as reference photos for this goes. Most of it is obscured by the next part of the headdress, but I still wanted to try to be as true to the film version as I could. There, I'm just adjusting the wig. So the wig is an Arta wig. It's one of the ponytail clip wigs, and the ponytail clip, that's where the braids are. So I just, braided the ponytail clip. And the bead embroidery, let me go back to that again, was done on silk organza, and it's a combination of the seed beads, the pearls, and the teardrop beads that you see in this up close shot here. And I used beading thread obviously for all of this to make sure it is sturdy enough so that the beads are not going to break and fall. And I've actually only had one bead strand pop loose, and it wasn't even that it broke itself, it's just it came out from the underside. So now that everything is pinned into place, after I put the wig on, I take some bobby pins and make sure that I pin the front of the wig into my hair. Normally I braid my hair across the front of my head, right at the top of the forehead, and then stick into that to keep it into place. The headdress itself is attached with magnets, such as you can see. There are magnets on top of the beads there that it snaps into place onto. So the headdress was 3D printed. I sculpted it in 3D myself and finished and put together all the pieces. The texture on the silver part of the headdress was achieved by gluing down mesh fabric onto it to create the proper texture, because you can't really print something so fine and still be able to smoothly finish the piece. So that's how I achieved that. The actual fan was wire covered in felt that was then covered in just the jumbo braid, and it slides into the headdress and it's all glued into place, and also used some invisible thread to stitch some things into place as well. It was a pain. It was a serious pain. Now, how I put the headdress on here, you'll see James helping me out. And what we do is I take a certain number of beads in the front. I can't remember. It's different every time because I kind of estimate every time where I want it to end. But what we do is I twist the beads up and then they're pinned into the back of the wig. It doesn't look exactly like the film because she has additional strands falling off throughout the beads, but I'm making James sit there for 3 hours while we try to twist it up right. So I do it this way so it doesn't take a ton of time for the person that's helping me get ready. So we twist the other side up and make sure to match the height with the first side that went up. And the way it's pinned into the wig is we take bobby pins and you catch a couple strands on the bobby pin. So you push the bobby pin onto the strands and then we push it up through the strands and then turn it and push it down into the wig. And that's how I keep everything in place as far as the beads go. And you know, he puts multiple bobby pins in there for me, or whoever's helping me get dressed that day. Pretty straightforward. And then the beads get pulled forward from the back. We missed a strand, so I was like, hey, fix that. Once that's done, you can see there's how everything goes into place. We have the clip that goes onto the back, which you'll see in a second we're going to grab. So there's literally, you never see this in the film because like she's pretty much never shown from the backside of this costume in the one scene she wears it. But there's this clip that goes at the top of the braids that come off the back of her head. So I made this using bead strands coming down off of a piece of Warbler, and then there's a beaded design that I put on there. There are no up close shots of this in existence, so I kind of built something as best as I could myself. Alright, and there is everything put on. I hoped this video and some of the explanation as far as how I built things helped you guys out. If you have additional questions about anything that I might have mentioned in the video, or as I've said previously, if you guys want to see some up-close images of the work that I did on this costume, please check out the Facebook album that's listed in the description box down below. Yeah, if you, like I said, if you have questions, please ask them and I will do my best to answer them. And good luck if you decide to build this costume.
Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope this gave you a little more insight into how I built my Queen Amidala costume, how everything goes on and is put together, and maybe it'll help you guys out if you ever decide to build this one exactly, or something as complex or similar. So thanks so much, and be sure to check out my other tutorial that is coming that will show you how to do the makeup as well. Alright guys, everybody have a good evening, and I'll see you next time. Bye!